Hello, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio and welcome to your practice today. Today we're going to be working with that period of transition between late summer and fall. One of the most difficult transitions for a lot of people physically and mentally. It's that transition that we feel sort of overwhelmed and maybe things are moving really fast and we feel like everything's kind of flowing by quickly and you're thinking, oh, summer's already over. It's also this time of harvest, this time of gratitude, of celebration, of letting go of that rising energy, starting into our downturn, that turning inward energy, that outward, starting to come inward into fall. So in this practice, we'll be working with the spleen and stomach meridians, which would be the meridians related to late summer in the 5-element theory of traditional Chinese medicine. We'll also be working with the lung and large intestine meridians, those related to fall or the element of metal. So we'll be working with earth and metal, that transition time between the two. In traditional Chinese medicine and in Ayurveda, the sister science to yoga, there is what we call a space in between, like a little couple of weeks, sometimes a little bit longer than that period in between the seasonal shifts in which you're not really in one, or let's just say you have 1 foot in one and 1 foot in the other season. And this is a little bit challenging for the body to shift what it desires food-wise, what it needs for temperature, what it needs for mental stimulation and calming. So each one of those requires a little bit of a change. So think about it kind of like putting your sweaters away or pulling your sweaters out for fall. There's that period where it's not quite cold enough for the sweater, but you need a heavier coat, or kind of just that sort of middle ground where you're like, I don't know which one it is. It's just like that. And the seasons that are probably the hardest to shift from would be winter to spring, which we do with a lot of clearing out and letting go. And this one from late summer to fall often affects digestion a lot. So if your digestion has been a little bit strange and you feel a little bit rushed everywhere, then this is the season of Vata for Ayurveda, and that means we feel like things are moving a little bit too fast for us. The wind is blowing too much. For this practice, you will need, this is optional, a blanket underneath just for your comfort. The ground is hard and the body is soft, and we want to accommodate that and honor it. A block for our practice, and a blanket or beach towel underneath to sit on. This is kind of optional, but I like it for my knees and for sitting on to give me a little bit of a lift up to let the spine be long. So we're going to start seated up nice and tall. We'll just settle into the breath to begin with. So 3-part breath. If it's easier, take your hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. Inhale into the belly and then into the heart space, and then feel the collarbone spread. And as you exhale, feel the collarbones gently soften, the chest soften, the belly soften. As much as many people feel that a little sense of sadness as the summer comes to an end, there's also this beautiful harvest, this gratitude for what the spring and summer have given us. So maybe bring a little sense of that gratitude in. If we didn't have winter and fall, we wouldn't have spring and summer. We wouldn't value them quite as much. Maybe checking in with the body and noticing anything that's going on in this moment. Physically, with your internal systems, and also with yourself emotionally and mentally. Knowing where you begin your practice is that first step to helping the transition go that much easier. And taking those hands down, we're going to take our first pose, starting with deer pose. So we're going to bring the bottoms of the feet together out, butterfly style, and we're going to take that left leg over to the left and sweep it back behind us. Now, it could go back further or closer. You could walk the right foot further out or closer. You want to take that outside hand, and if your arms are short like mine, maybe a block is helpful to give you that stability to kind of come back to center down the midline. This is going to open up that space of the spleen and stomach meridians running on the inside and top side of the thigh, our earth element here. Now, late summer focuses a lot more on our lower meridians, and fall tends to focus on our upper meridians, so we'll be working the entire body today. Settle into the breath and feel that breath, the exhale beginning to extend as we ground down and connect to the earth element, helping us feel a little bit more stable, grounded, and centered as we transition from one to another. Notice whatever sensations come up for you. Maybe you'll feel muscles firing, and just send a message to those muscles they don't need to take care of you here. You're doing okay. Notice if you feel any discomfort. Oftentimes in Yin there is a great deal of discomfort. And I'm talking pain here, just discomfort. Settle into that discomfort. Transition, change is uncomfortable. We're working with that here on the mat, so we're more comfortable off into our day with discomfort. We're going to take ourselves and do a little twist here. So bring that right knee, right heel in a little bit closer and start to walk yourself over toward the right. Maybe here you come down onto the block if the floor is too far away, or maybe you come all the way down onto your forearms in a twist. Noticing your breath here in the twist, reconnecting with that 3-part breath, helping extend that exhale, letting the body slow down and ground and center. Just a few more breaths. Very gently starting to press yourself back up to center, leaning over a little bit and swinging that left leg back around, bringing the feet flat, knees up toward the ceiling, and just windshield wipering side to side. Or if you like, being really still with your legs out straight. Noticing wherever you feel sensation shifting or changing in this rebound pose. And then our other side, bringing the bottoms of the feet together again, this time swinging that right leg back behind us as far as you feel sustainably comfortable for you. Maybe sweeping that left leg out a little bit further or closer in, grabbing your block for your hand if you need to. Coming up a little bit more upright in this pose. One hand to the outside, one hand to the inside to give you stability. Just a couple more breaths here. Very slowly sort of bring that left heel in a little bit closer, twisting a little bit over to the left this time. And don't worry if that back hip comes off the floor, that's okay too. Coming down to wherever you feel comfortable. Maybe this side is different and you need a little bit of a different positioning for your body. Do what feels most comfortable for you sustainably for this pose. Checking in with your breath here. Notice if your breath has become a little restricted and coming back to that 3-part breath. Just one more deep inhale and exhale. And starting to walk those hands back in, swinging that right leg back around. Maybe bring the feet flat, knees toward the ceiling, and windshield wiper, bring knees side to side, or taking a stillness pose with legs out straight. And then sitting up on our blanket, the very edge. Bring the left knee in, left heel in, and right leg out straight. We're going to take our block to the outside of the right knee. And just start to lean a little bit over to the right and rest your head on your hand or your fingertips. If you need to, you can bend that right knee a little bit, make it a little bit softer, or take it out straight. And then taking that left arm up and over, just wrap it around your head. If you like, you can interlace the fingers or not. Just a few more breaths here. Slowly start to take that left hand back alongside the left hip. Press the head up with the right hand. We're going to lean over this time toward the left and take that right arm up and over just for a little counter twist here. Reconnecting with the breath. Letting that exhale extend. And sweeping that right arm back alongside the right hip. And we're going to switch sides. So bringing that right heel in to the hips, left leg out straight, that block on the outside of the left leg. Remembering that two sides are very different, so this side may feel very different for you. But starting to lean a little bit over to that left side. For me, this is much different. And then take that right arm up and overhead, resting your head on your left hand. You can bend that left knee if that feels better for you, or make it kind of soft. It doesn't have to be stick straight or the toes flexed. Notice if you're holding any muscle engagement or tension. Just soften that up, maybe bounce the knee a little bit. Start to take that right hand back alongside the right hip. Use the left hand to press yourself back up to center. Walk that right hand over to the right, and then take that left hand up and over for a little counter. Taking that left hand down by the left hip, press all the way up. Bring the bottoms of those feet flat, knees up toward the ceiling, and just lean back and windshield wiper those knees side to side. Maybe a little cat-cow here, lifting the chest and arching and rounding, tucking the chin in and lifting it. And then coming to our next pose. So taking the block off to the side. If your knees are tender, you can use the blanket underneath your knees for heart melting pose. We're going to take our hips over our knees. Toes can be flat or flipped. And we're going to start to just come into sort of a cow tilt and let the hands walk out in front of us. We're going to take one at a time. So take that left hand, cross it in front of you, palm flat. Rest your head on the back of your left hand, or left arm or forearm, or the floor if that feels better, and then walk that right hand out a little bit further. Spread the fingers wide.
Just about 1 more minute here. Gently lift your head, start to walk that right hand back in, press into it, come all the way back, sit on your heels, let your arms rest out here, maybe shake out the wrists a little bit, roll the shoulders a few times, back and forth. Here we're working with the lung and large intestine meridians, the one running inside of the arm and the back side of the arm up into the shoulders and chest and back side of the heart space. Our metal element. Maybe inhaling deeply and exhaling with a sigh. Here again, settling into the other side. So coming back into our cow tilt, walking the hands out in front of us about halfway. Taking that right hand this time, crossing it in front of you, palm flat. Rest your head on the forearm, and then walk that left hand out a little bit further. If it feels better to go a little sideways, that's okay too. Notice where you feel sensation in this pose. Breathe and feel your heart melting softer toward the floor. Just a few more breaths. Starting to walk that left hand back in, pressing all the way up, sitting back on your heels. Here again, rolling those shoulders back super slow, big circles, and then forward a few times. And just letting them rest here. Noticing whatever you feel after the pose is over. And grabbing hold of that blanket and putting it straight down the middle of your mat from side to side. Bring your knees up onto that. Taking that right leg out in front of us for a dragon pose. Fingertips down to the inside, lift that back knee and then pull it to you as you drag it a little bit on that blanket. We're going to do a little something different here. So we're going to take the fingers and turn them out a little bit. So if you have that on a block, you can always do it on a block as well, turning the fingers out, wrists in. Walking that right foot over a little bit more if that feels better for you. Notice your breath here and whatever sensations are coming up and where you might feel this differently now. Normally we feel this pose a lot in the legs and the top of the outstretched behind you thigh. Bring a little bit more awareness to the inner seam of the arms and the back side of the shoulders and our lung and large intestine meridians. One more deep inhale and exhale here. Walking those hands back, taking that left hand down the center, letting that right knee fall open and twisting to the right. Right hand on that right knee for a little stability here. And coming back to center and very slowly, very carefully making your way back into child's pose or downward facing dog, whichever appeals to you best. Downward facing dog, walking your dog out, bending one knee and then the other, shifting the hips a little bit side to side. And then gently coming down, both knees on that blanket again here. This time taking our left leg out in front, both hands to the inside. You can roll that foot open just a little bit, lift that back knee and pull it to you.
This time we're going to take our hands a little bit more toward the inside. So if you can't turn your fingers facing each other, that's okay. Turn them a little bit tilted in. So instead of rotating out, we're rotating in. Notice how the sensation may be very different here with the fingers turned in versus out. Gently coming back to center, maybe turning that left foot out a little bit further, letting it drift out to the side. Taking that right hand down, left hand to the knee, and twisting to the left this time. Starting to come back to center and very slowly, carefully making your way back to either child's pose or downward facing dog, whichever works best for you. Walking your dog out in downward facing dog, or even in child's pose, maybe shifting the hips a little bit side to side. Wherever you're at, coming down into a wide knees child's pose. Big toes together, knees wide. We're going to take a little twist on this. So you might want to have the block nearby for your forehead or not. We're going to take that right arm, palm facing up, and slide it in front, left arm underneath for twisted ropes. Walking them right underneath and crossing them in front.
Starting to lift up, unwind those arms. Bring the knees back together, taking the arms up overhead, interlacing the fingers, flipping them inside out, and just stretching up overhead for a little counter here. Maybe dropping those hands behind your interlaced fingers, pulling the shoulders open, lifting the heart space. And then taking our second side. This time the left arm is going to go in front, right is going to go behind. Crisscrossing palms facing up. Knees wide, big toes together. Gently start to lift your head, unwind your arms here again. Bring those knees back together. Arms up overhead. Interlace the fingers, flip them inside out, stretch up nice and tall. And then take those hands around, interlace them the different way. Pull the shoulders back, lift the chest, drop the head back. And come back to center. Coming all the way down onto our back. Take that blanket and block off to the side. We're going to lean a little bit over to the left. Take that right hand, grab hold of that left foot, or take a strap or something to grab hold of it or reach for it. Pull it back a little bit so that it's level with the other hip or back a little further. And then here you can either stretch out that right leg in front, you can grab hold of it, bend it, and bring it in a little bit closer. And our cat pulling its tail, letting that right shoulder drift back. Just a couple more breaths here. And slowly releasing whatever hold you have, letting everything unwind and coming onto your back, taking your feet wide, knees drop together, hands to your belly. This pose, we work with a twist to help stimulate digestion. We work with shoulder opening and arm opening for our lung and large intestine meridians, and we open with the front of the thigh and the inside of the leg for our spleen and stomach meridians. So covering a lot of different things in one pose. Inhaling and exhaling through the mouth. Noticing whatever comes up. Rocking the head side to side. Then taking our second side, so leaning over to the right this time, reaching back, grabbing hold of that right foot with that left hand, however you can. Pulling it back a little bit behind you, bringing that left knee over, grabbing hold of it with the right hand, or just letting that leg be straight or bent, and letting that left shoulder drift back, maybe even turning your head to look over your shoulder. Letting both the foot and the knee get heavy toward the floor. Connecting with your breath here. It's often harder when we're in a twist to breathe, but really trying to find that space. Very gently letting go of whatever hold you have. Slowly allowing the body to unwind. Coming back, feet wide, knees drop together, hands to your belly. Noticing whatever sensations come up after the pose is over on that side, or how different that side may have felt for you than the first side. And then setting yourself up for whatever Shavasana feels good for you, using the props around you for support. You can take the heels wide, hands out to the side, palms up, tuck the shoulder blades underneath. And just wiggle a little bit and allow the body to settle. One of the best ways to help yourself with transition, any transition, but seasonal in particular here, is to reconnect to the earth element, that grounding, centering, feeling connected. Maybe stepping outside without shoes on, walking in the grass, or spending some more time in nature, seeing as nature shifts and makes the change from late summer to fall. Taking time to choose foods that are more late summer, that come into fruition at more late summer and early fall. And shifting your diet to those slightly heavier foods, the root vegetables, the root foods, helping ground and center your body and helping your digestion process a little bit better. And last but not least, taking some big, deep breaths. Stopping throughout the day to really throw the shoulders back, lift the heart. Inhale and take some nice deep breaths, filling the chest all the way up, and then exhaling everything out, helping keep the lungs clear and active, preventing any fall illnesses. Giving you that nice balancing breath. Here in Shavasana, noticing the stillness, the quiet, the presence of this pose at the end of the practice. This is also what makes a transition so much easier, because here, as you are present and in the moment, you can become aware of whatever your body is trying to tell you that it needs or wants. Whatever your mind is doing, it can settle an anchor to the breath and to this moment. These help you get through the transitions of life. If you can take more time for Shavasana, I highly recommend staying here as long as you can, settling, resting, letting everything become calm and still before moving on with your day. But if this is all the time that you have, walking the heels together, taking the arms up overhead, stretching through the fingers, stretching through the toes, lengthening the spine, taking a nice deep inhale, stretch, and then exhale, roll over to your right side, taking a breath or two on your right side. And gently pressing up to whatever seated position you like best. Eyes closed or gaze soft. Hands together at the heart space, thumbs to the breastbone. Taking a moment to say thank you to yourself for taking this time for self-love, self-care, and self-exploration. May you be happy. May you be safe and protected. And may you be at peace. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Have a wonderful autumn.